said that. Oh, nice. Okay, so just a review of the article. I said what was the poor law and why was it introduced, and Ariam said that the poor law was a law that was put into place to help reduce the cost of taking care of the poor, because people's taxes, took care of the poor, and people didn't like it, or people complained about it because they said, well, we're just paying for people to be lazy and to not work, and then everyone else is picking up the bill. So they introduced this poor law in order to reduce that cost. So tell me again what the poor law did. What had to be done under the poor law? Leah, what had to be done under the poor law?
Well, they built workhouses.
Yeah, so workhouses were built. So each parish or union built a workhouse, and then what happened in the workhouses? Who went to the workhouses? Why did they go there?
Extremely poor people.
Logan?
Extremely poor people.
Okay, so anybody who, if people wanted to get help, okay, if people needed help financially, the only way that they could get help is if they moved out of their home, so they couldn't live in their home anymore, and they worked at a workhouse. They lived at the workhouse and they worked at the workhouse. So tell me what the workhouses were like. Tommy, what were the workhouses like?
They were horrible.
They were horrible. I can explain what horrible means.
They treated the poor people badly, and the living conditions weren't good.
Yeah, living conditions were not good. They treated the poor people badly. How were the living conditions not good, Kaylin? What was bad about the living conditions? And you guys can look in your article.
They got abused.
They were starving.
A couple people around who gave you some ideas.
What are you doing?
Luke, what was something that happened to people in workhouses?
They got abused.
Sometimes people were abused by like the headmasters of the people running the workhouses, called matrons and masters. Logan,
They were starving.
they were starving. How do we know that?
Because at the end of a workhouse, it was reported that half-starved inmates were found eating rotten flesh from bones.
Yeah, so people were starved. Sometimes maybe people died. Doesn't sound like it was their conditions were, or the place was very clean, right?
Yeah, they didn't clean up the dead bodies.
Yeah, but they didn't even clean up dead bodies.
That's nasty.
So people did not go to the workhouse unless they were desperate, right? Unless they were desperate, they wouldn't go to workhouse. So who ended up in workhouses? Yes?
Orphans, the old, sick, and insane.
Mm-hmm. People who had absolutely nowhere else to go. Children who were orphaned, if people were very sick, if people were old, didn't have anyone to take care of them, or people who were insane. Ariam?
Why did the insane go there? Why didn't they go to an insane asylum?
Because they didn't have those in 1834.
Yep, they didn't have them at the time.
So I could have been insane back then, and everyone would be like, "Ah, there she goes again." I don't know.
Yeah.
Or was it 1834?
Okay,
Actually,
so was the poor law popular?
No.
No. People didn't like the poor law. It wasn't very good.
Correct.
It didn't really do good things for the poor in society.
I thought they didn't want to spend money on like the poor.
No.
Yeah, no,
No.
right.
Oh, yeah.
But, so we're talking about the population is more than just the people who can afford the taxes, right? Population is also people who can't afford it,
Yeah.
right?
Or
So
pretty much
it
what
would
she was saying
include-
was-
it would include everyone, and then people who probably
More.
are righteous, who do pay the taxes, right? They also have an opinion about it. So not everyone was complaining about probably, right? Just like in our society today, some people are more willing to pay for things to help others than other people, right? So the same was probably true back then as well. So how has our society progressed since then? Ariam?
We have insane asylums.
We don't really have insane asylums.
We don't? Or
No.
psych-
Luke?
We have,
Even
what, healthcare
We
to
have,
help the poor.
like, asylums.
Some, like, jobs include, like, healthcare, if you
Mhm.
join. We have, we just got it, I don't remember what it's called, but some, people who, can't work, but they still have their job, get, like, money because of the whole COVID thing, I forget what it's called.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Relief,
Rel-
COVID relief, maybe.
Relief, payment, or whatever,
Yeah.
and,
The what?
things like that.
Yeah, okay, for sure, definitely, we have things in our side, like we have healthcare.
That,
Even for the poor, we have healthcare. We mentioned a lot of things at the beginning of our discussion before we even read, like we do have some homeless shelters now where people have seen a need and, built homeless shelters. We have places like the Dorothy Day Center, right, that, and many other places that are basically called, that are soup kitchens, right, that maybe provide meals, for the poor. We have all sorts of organizations that try to help, the poor. We have, what else? What else do we have?
Feed my serving children.
We have
That
Feed My
doesn't really
Starving
help, like,
Children.
the US.
But yeah, those aren't people in our own country.
360 communities.
360 communities, okay, lots of organizations that do outreach and donations, right? What about our laws? Do you know anything that the government provides?
Help.
Eviction
No.
notices.
No?
Is it really helpful?
We have things, like food stamps and, government help, in place for people who, don't have a good income. So we do have things in our society now. Our society has progressed. Again, is it perfect? No, but it has progressed. All right, so this is what things were like for people who were poor at the time. They did not have a lot of choices, right? They did not have many places to go. So this is some background on life at that time. So we are going to do a cause and effect activity.